Okay, so I've done a couple videos that tries to explain what I'm actually going to roll with sort of 1,000 truths now because I forgot. Someone on Twitter had told me to name it after that from South Park, and I unfortunately stopped using that as a name. So the sword, the way that it works, I say this every time, the simplest way to think of it is fucking hold on. I'm going to pull up the indicator version just so that there's less noise all over the screen. So it's calculating Wyckoff schematics of accumulation and distribution. If you're not familiar with anything Wyckoff related, I will link an excellent resource in the description. The takeaway to what accumulation and distribution are is that they are phases of market cycles, where accumulation is where a stock is held below a certain price level. And this is where market makers or composite man are accumulating shares. There's a distinct signature that is left in an accumulation schematic, which is the spring, which is this low area here. In which case you will then typically see the stock go up, and it will exit accumulation and go into what is called distribution, which is where a stock is held up higher. And the distinct signature of this is what is known as a UTAD, upper test of fucking something. I can't remember right this second. And if you look close enough, you'll see that these are the same pattern, which I think we all have heard me say enough around here. The same pattern, just flipped upside down or not. So this is something that I've theorized for a very long time. I didn't quite know if there was something that existed material-wise on it, and that's when David Marino Jr. came in with this shill ass and started talking about Wyckoff, and he's like, hey, this is what you've been talking about, and oh, would you look at that? Everything's the same. So what this does, back to the original fucking rant, was it captures these price behaviors. It automatically reacts and analyzes and outputs based on what the market is doing. It doesn't matter if it's manipulated or not. This is capturing the manipulation, and it's looking for those oddities or when something becomes manipulated, in which case you'll have something stick out like a sore thumb. It captures this and then will automatically adapt itself to follow that particular trend or that particular movement, and that also factors it moving forward. So when you're seeing these blue or red clouds, if it's in the blue, that means it's in accumulation. If it's in the red, that means it's in distribution. This varies throughout time frames. People have often heard me say that something is operating on a different time frame. The movement it just did is coming from a different time frame. What that means is exactly this. If on the 5-minute we're in accumulation, right, this might actually just be the lower distribution of the longer term trend like this. So the 5-minute shows that we're in accumulation, but when you go to the 4-hour, we're still riding in distribution. With that being said, the other really cool part about this is I've constructed simple moving averages off of the 200 interval that are just for the price levels of springs and the price levels of UTADs. So the lowest of lows and the highest of highs. And this is seen as the red and the blue lines respectively. You'll see that long-term trends will either catch this line or break through it. For example, when GameStop started running all the way from $2 up to $500, you saw it get stopped out here at the distribution on the 4-hour. And then once it broke through, it didn't stop. It didn't stop. And that's when you saw it do that. And you could have also even caught the rebound that it did in February because it bounced off of this distribution simple moving average as well. Bounce again, tried to bounce and then fell through, rejected. So this is a truly fucking unique approach to the way that markets operate and the way that price is analyzed. With me jerking myself off aside, The way that you can actually tinker with this and change the way that it functions is by two primary components within the configuration. If you have the indicator pulled up, to do that, just click on the indicators button, look up Wyckoff sniper, and it will be this one. You then double click the label for that on your chart in the top left-hand corner, and you'll see two text fields, one for the scanning length and one for the cloud sensitivity. The scanning length is how many candles will be considered into the scanning of a Wyckoff schematic. Think of it as kind of like a moving average. It's not, though. It's just it's slicing things by every X candles and then filtering that for any Wyckoff signatures. So if you have 15 candles set up on the 1 minute, you'll have every 15 minutes being analyzed. The cloud sensitivity is where things get creative, because if you want to, or before I say that, the cloud sensitivity adjusts the thresholds of these liquidity clouds. So you can see the width of these on the red and the blue. If I shrink this to 0.5 instead of 1, you'll see that they start to reduce. If I put it to 0.2, it becomes even less. If you're wanting more certainty, you can increase the scanning length and reduce the cloud sensitivity. And inversely, if you want more aggressive and ambitious ratings, you can increase these, or you can decrease the scanning length and increase the threshold. So with the most recent video that I did about the strategy version of this, we're trying to find the most profitable configuration of this on the 1 second in particular. You're more than welcome to use different time frames to mess about. But if we can find the most profitable version of this on the 1 second, we can then scale that up throughout different time frames, see if it holds, and if it does, then we have a very, albeit complex, but reliable pseudo formula to calculate price and price behavior and price projection. So here I have on the 1 second, and you can start to see where all this comes together. So in terms of like scanning lengths is something that I'm asked about a lot. Some of the best scanning lengths that I've found are 11, 21, 31, somewhere around there. You can even set up multiple instances of this and set them each to their own. Let's see, reset. So I'll set each of these. I got 3 pulled up now. I'll set them to 11, 21, and 31. And now I have what Bam the man would call speed lines. And you can essentially see the ripples of price action from varying time frames. And whenever you see longer time frames cross over a shorter time frame or vice versa, there is an effect of price action that comes with that, as well as, for example, back in late March when we started to ascend from the low 80s all the way up to 200, we had a rejection here, broke out here, and then because we had a double cluster, as Bam would call it, we had even more aggressive price action because of that. It actually doubled that effect and the longevity of it. And then breaking through it and blah, 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 blah. If you go to the 4 hour, you can even see where all the price action happened back in January. You had a triple cluster setup. Again, Bam the man. That triple cluster setup, we were rejected here, but then once it broke through that, it didn't fucking look back. If this had existed back then, you would have ridden this thing all the way from $5 to $500. And the signals are fucking impeccable. So, yeah, that's kind of the rundown. I'm still riding the fucking wave of euphoria from having this being turned into an automated strategy. So that's kind of the nickel tour. Again, the primary inputs that you want to mess with are the scanning length and the cloud sensitivity. And once we can find the ideal configuration for a smaller time frame, We can then scale that up if we have the best version of it on the 1 second. Let's see what it does on the 1 minute, the 5 minute, blah, 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 blah. If it sustains performance throughout all of those levels, then we have something. We have something. So, yeah, that's it. I'm fucking jacked, and I'm going to go fucking, I don't know. I'm going to get right back to fucking programming this. Fucking love you guys. I'm outie. Stay black.